So I've been asked to look into the crystal ball and tell you a little bit about how we are shaping the future of brain research with the EBRAINS research infrastructure being developed and powered by the Human Brain Project at its heart. And let me say at the outset that the Human Brain Project has from the beginning focused on leaving a longer-term legacy, on enabling this the transfer to the digital age of brain research and neuroscience in particular. And this is really about making sure that the latest technological developments from neuroimaging to algorithmic solutions are applied to brain research and available to researchers. So the HBP is very much focused on leaving behind as its outcomes substantially increased data sets, but also methods and tools for extracting value from data. And this is what I would really like to speak to you today about. So the Human Brain Project has had these twin goals. On the one hand, it has had a scientific program, which Katrine has taken us through just now, focused on the study of the human multiscale connectome, also challenges of cognition and consciousness. And the second pillar of the HBP's agenda has been the development of the EBRAINS research infrastructure. And let me say what that really means, because EBRAINS is not a simple platform. EBRAINS is a research infrastructure, and to add, it's the first pan-European research infrastructure that exists in this area, in the area of brain science. We have a number of individual, mostly single-site national infrastructures, but there is no pan-European infrastructure such as EBRAINS. So we fill a gap which exists and address the needs which exists in the community. Now, what are research infrastructures? I put up here the definition that the European Commission uses. So these are facilities that provide resources and services for research communities to conduct the research and also foster innovation. So they range from supplying equipment or sets of instruments, and we do that through our facility hubs in the Human Brain Project. So we, for example, enable access to microscopes through the facility hub in Madrid. Then there is knowledge-related facilities such as collections and archives or scientific data infrastructures. Data is, of course, at the heart of EBRAINS, and we already have a treasure trove of data originating from the Human Brain Project, and we are now looking much further behind. And lastly, but not least, is the computing systems and communication networks. And compute power and storage capacity is, of course, of enormous and growing importance in neuroscience, given the types of data which brain researchers work with, which goes into petabytes, and that demand is steadily increasing. So that's why EBRAINS is the research infrastructure. Now, let me say in a couple of words, what is the value added of EBRAINS? And let me focus on two aspects of this. One has to do with fair and high quality data. And the second with the co-design principle, which has been very much at the heart of the way the Human Brain Project has operated in the last years. So findability of data. This goes way beyond what you find in other places like this. And we are very much proud of this. There is both machine and human readable metadata available on EBRAINS. And we use the Open Minds metadata schemas, which are easy to use and which are very easy to operate. And the curation of data is provided by expert neuroscientists, which means high quality data is available on EBRAINS research infrastructure. Now you can regulate the access restrictions depending on the needs of your project. You can have an embargo before your paper is published. This can be adjusted individually. And what is fundamental importance, you have also links to interactive brain atlases and other services available within EBRAINS. So this is what I wanted to say about data, the collaboration and co-design principle, which, as I mentioned, is very close to our hearts, means that the technological development is very much driven by concrete use cases, and mostly the ones that have been the subject of scientific work within the Human Brain Project in the past, but increasingly also use cases outside of the HBP, as I will mention shortly. There is more documentation, scientific documentation, than in other such locations, and the TRL level is also higher than most scientific software. We also provide high-level support for individual projects, so we accompany the journey of the scientists throughout the EBRAINS research infrastructure, and we have built a range of partnering projects which work very closely with us. So all this means that we can update what EBRAINS provides very regularly. Scientific excellence has been and will always be at the heart of EBRAINS. That's, of course, the guiding principle for the existence of such a research infrastructure. And this scientific leadership is currently provided by the HBP's Science and Infrastructure Boards. We are in the process of elaborating the EBRAINS science vision, and this is based on the input of HBP's leadership, but also scientific communities which are being formed around our national nodes. And I will speak about those in a second. The EBRAINS Science and Technology Committee will come in place in the course of 2022 to provide that further scientific leadership. And this will be the basis for the development of the scientific work programs, which will be relevant in the post-HBP period. Now, EBRAINS is a distributed research infrastructure, and to decode what that means, it means that there is a central hub and there are national nodes where the tools and services are being developed and provided. Now, the central hub exists already. It's based in Brussels with an office in Geneva. It was formed in 2021 when EBRAINS as an organization became also the coordinator of the Human Brain Project. So what we do in the central hub is we provide the management and coordination of the RI, but we also provide some of the key technological elements, such as the knowledge graph and the wiki collaboratory. Now, the beating heart of the EBRAINS will be in the national nodes. They are currently being formed. We are receiving expressions of interest from partners for the creation of these nodes, and will be setting up the system of nodes in the course of 2022. And because EBRAINS will be a reliable professional research infrastructure, we'll be signing agreements to guarantee the provision of services, and we'll be also elaborating together with our partners national node plans, which will have two pillars to it, both the research agenda and the service delivery plans. So this is the exciting prospect ahead of us in 2022. There will be 7 to 8 nodes at the beginning, but then we will aim to grow that community so that it genuinely becomes a pan-European research infrastructure. As Philippe mentioned, we joined in the course of 2021 the ESFRI roadmap. ESFRI roadmap is a list of Europe's top science facilities. It has been around for about 2 decades, and it has genuinely contributed to making European research infrastructures of enormous value to science. So we're happy to be on that roadmap, and this is in a nutshell the timeline for the development of EBRAINS in line with the ESFRI principles. So we're currently in what ESFRI calls the preparation phase, and will be in 23 moving into implementation and then operation. As an accompanying dimension, there is also, as there has to be in the case of every research infrastructure, a strategy for our socio-economic impact. And this ranges from brain health through neurotechnology to also the future of brain-inspired technology. And let me mention 2 examples of projects in the area of brain health. They have to do with personalized medicine solutions, to which Catherine already pointed to in her presentation. So the epilepsy PNOP trial ongoing in France is a flagship example of what you can do with this predictive power of integrated brain models. And the second example is our engagement in the European health data space, where we would like to create the possibility for cross-border research projects to overcome what many call the replication crisis in brain health. When it comes to neurotechnology, we will be convening in the course of 2022 a network of neurotechnology platforms for which eBRAINS could be of enormous support by providing links to brain atlases, but also by making our neurorobotics platform available for virtual experiments and for virtual embodiment. And finally, when it comes to brain-inspired technology, we expect the contribution to be focused in the area of neuromorphic computing, but also in developing algorithmic solutions, and in particular, self-learning algorithms. Catherine has already taken us through the range of eBRAINS services, which are available at the moment. So from data and knowledge ones all the way to the medical informatics platform, which is an extremely valuable part of eBRAINS. Let me just say that these services are open to all researchers. There is a relatively straightforward access procedure. If you are from an academic institutions, you can apply for access, and after a brief verification, you'll be granted one. There are more elaborate services which we are developing for particular projects, especially larger projects which require more compute and storage or require more high-level support. And we'll be growing the number of those selected projects of larger scale and magnitude in the course of next year. Now, the way this works is that we offer an integrated workflow. So basically, you come with your scientific question, and our high-level support team and the science liaison unit develop a workflow that aims to address that scientific problem in the best possible fashion using a range of eBRAINS tools. Now, we are opening up to the broader community already in the course of the Human Brain Project. So this has started with the voucher program, that has brought in a number of external projects and given them the support of eBRAINS. We have brought in new partners through open calls. The last wave also included a number of industrial partners. And finally, there is the extensive high-level support team that I've mentioned already, which can offer customized, individualized solutions. Opening up means also reaching out to a number of communities, including in the field of neurology, where our collaboration with the EAN has been extremely fruitful, and we are looking forward to developing that in the future. So what this means is that we could offer very targeted, customized solutions to partners in all of the fields mentioned here on the slides. So even though eBRAINS is open to all researchers, we can go one step further and develop very individualized solutions for large projects. Now, the significant change which will take place in 2023 when the Human Brain Project ends is that we will work with a whole portfolio of scientific projects. So the current situation is described here on the left-hand side. We have the Human Brain Project as the one developing and powering eBRAINS. We have a number of other projects which have joined, but that situation will look somewhat different after 23, when eBRAINS will work with a multitude of scientific projects that exist in Europe and beyond. And we are already, in fact, starting that type of collaboration, participating in new consortia and coordinating some of them for those researchers who would like to use eBrains in the future. This is one of very useful ways of collaborating with us. Now, what this means and the way the eBrains science vision is being developed is that we look at the neuroscientific goals and objectives. This is exactly the phase in which we find ourselves right now. We identify the technical requirements for each of these goals and then select the right tools. And this process will, by the way, have to continue because eBrains obviously will need to remain flexible and will need to adjust and adapt to the changing scientific needs. There is a mission to be fulfilled in the larger ecosystem, and it has to do with ensuring that replicability and reproducibility become a genuine cultural trait of how brain research is done. And for that, open science and fair data, of course, of enormous importance. In order to unlock the value of data, we need to create a virtuous cycle. And the way we are doing that is by, first of all, setting the benchmarks, which then are translated into standards. Secondly, by offering our amplification tools, as we call them. So by accompanying the scientific journey with the eBrains services, and then developing also customized solutions. So the way this can have direct implication in the clinical fields is by offering what the predictive power of integrated brain models brings, namely clinical decision support tools, tailored to individual needs, but also the multi-scale integration, which can help to predict disease progression. And finally, with the high compute power, we can take things forward towards individualization. In data integrity is, of course, very close to our heart and becomes part of the eBrains offering. So we are not only active in the field of infrastructure and data standards, but also in the field of ethics and responsible research innovation. In fact, a responsible research innovation task force has already been created for eBrains that will continue its work also beyond the end of the Human Brain Project. The principle of trustworthiness is at the heart of eBrains, and the medical informatics platform is in fact one of the best expressions of it in terms of being GDPR compliant, federated data processing, which provides high analytics to a number of communities and in a number of domains. And Philippe will take us through the details later today. Apart from the medical informatics platform, we are developing a broader solution to work with clinical data. And this is through the health data cloud that will also be federated, that will enable research teams from across Europe and beyond to use defined routes for sharing and access to data and results. And this solution is being developed by a consortium led by the Charité Hospital, and its foundation already exists in the form of the virtual research environment and will be available in the course of the coming months. European health data space is very much on our agenda as well, because this could be a game changer in terms of creating further demand for data sharing and further ways of enabling access. So we are currently joining the pilot project or consortium that will apply to the pilot project for the European health data space, hoping to contribute with our experience in the area of brain health and hoping to contribute towards overcoming what many call the replication crisis in brain health. Enabling the power of algorithms to be applied to large data sets across borders in Europe. Now, I would like to finish my presentation with a few words about the future European landscape and how we are contributing to shaping that landscape ourselves at EBRAINS and the HBP. And let me begin by saying that I'm entirely convinced that brain health will be of more central importance to the European agenda. And this is because several factors are converging, in fact, at this moment. First of all, there is more awareness of the importance of good brain health, staying cognitively able until the later period in our lives. Of course, the bearing of brain diseases is more and more pronounced. And as the aging of European societies progresses, this will become of growing relevance. And finally, we will have the scientific breakthroughs and new technologies enabling much more thorough progress. So these three factors will converge towards growing centrality of brain health on the European agenda. Now, when we look at how it is funded right now, there are three large programs. The Human Brain Project is one of them. The joint program on neurodegenerative disease research, so JPND, is the second, and the network of European funding for neuroscience research, ERANET Neuron, could be named as the third. Apart from this, we have, of course, a whole spectrum of smaller projects financed from Horizon Europe or financed nationally. And there are some efforts at coordination of these projects going on. And Flagira has been one effort supporting the Human Brain Project research. Next steps are already being taken, and the Human Brain Project is a proud partner in the European Brain Research Area Consortium. And its aim is to both map the existing research situation and also to identify where the most prominent needs are. EBRA is preparing the grant for the European Partnership for Brain Health, which we all hope will be in place in the latter phase of the current funding period, Horizon Europe, so somewhere between 2025 and 2027. Now, in order to take us towards that European Partnership on Brain Health, several important elements need to fall in place. So first of all, the partnerships are meant to avoid duplication of investments and reduce the fragmentation of research. So what we would need to do as a community is to bring together key actors from across sectors and come up with ambitious research and innovation roadmaps. And secondly, partnerships are really to create critical scales of investment and demonstrate radically new innovations across Europe. These are the words that the European Commission uses, and these are the words which we have to keep in mind as we define the next step for the partnership. There is an effort within the EBRA consortium, an effort called CBRA, so the Shared European Brain Research Agenda, which identifies the priorities, first of all, and challenges. And many of them are reflected in the work of the Human Brain Project, and many of them can be supported by EBRAINS. So from multi-scale understanding of the brain, via personalized medicine, to the long-term understanding of brain diseases through brain health tracking solutions. But there are also enabling actions focused on patient and caregivers-oriented brain research. So this document will be the basis for developing the partnership in the next couple of years. In the HBP and EBRAINS community, we believe that we need to go beyond, and we need to start planning for a new European brain initiative in order to take things to scale and ensure that brain research has a continued role on the European agenda and the respective funding. And there are three pillars, and this is what I would like to end with. There are three pillars which we are currently looking at. So the Brain Health Partnership I mentioned is one of them, but we also need to create what we call the Brain Knowledge Hub. So this is really about both stepping up spending and funding of brain research, taking into account that after the end of the HBP, we will not have an equally favorable situation in terms of funding, and we will need to work with a multitude of projects. So creating this brain knowledge hub, aligning research across European countries and avoiding duplication, meaning not announcing funding calls in similar areas across countries, would be very important. And the third pillar has to do with how the inspiration of the brain will needs to feature in the development of technology. And neuromorphic computing from neuromorphic hardware will be of essential importance, especially as computing paradigms struggle with the effects of climate change. And brain-inspired technology has also a huge application in neurotechnology. So this is what we are currently thinking about in the Human Brain Project and in EBRAINS. And we would very much like to receive your input as these ideas are developed further. Thank you very much, Philippe.